have a moment to chat with you guys and answer your questions. So I'm already seeing so many questions, basically like all related, like how long have we been trying? Why did we wait so long? What were the hurdles? And by the way, before I really get deep into this, if any of you get bored with the whole like pregnancy talk, just skip over all this stuff. It's going to be kind of long. There might be like a few technical terms and things that I might be saying that may or may not be appropriate for young kids. So, disclaimer number 2, if you don't want your kids understanding too much of the science behind certain things, then it's not a good idea. All right, here we go. Sorry for the change of scenery. I have to charge my phone while I'm doing this because it's literally about to die. So I'm getting a lot of questions about how long it took us to get pregnant. What were some of the hurdles that got in the way? Why did we wait so long? So just as a backtrack, my goal was not to have kids right away. Ever since I was really young, I had a very, very straightforward set of priorities and goals that I wanted to achieve before anything else. And that's also one of the reasons why it took Kushal and I 7 years of dating before we finally got married, because we just had so much to do first. I was building my career. Kushal was finishing up school. We definitely didn't want to start something that would get in the way of those things. So finally, by the time I was 25 and he was 26, we got married. And normally, the thing with my culture is that typically women in my background, we're supposed to be super fertile. And we have babies, right away. But because of how career-oriented I was and how independent I was and how non-family oriented I was at that time, my family kind of knew that it wasn't going to happen. And although if Kushal had his way, we would have had a kid within the first year of marriage, he understood what we needed to do. And that was to get our lives in order, to jumpstart our careers, to make something of ourselves, and move up in stages. We started off in a really tiny, cute apartment, which I miss and I love and appreciate so much. But we both agreed that we would wait until we owned our own home before we tried to start a family. I always thought in my head, I don't know if the rest of you ladies do this, I feel like we all kind of do this in some way, I wanted to get married at 25, have my first kid at 30, but big things were happening in my career. I was getting a lot of opportunities. I moved to LA when I was 29, and although one of my biggest dreams came true at 30, we bought our first house, I still wasn't ready to have kids because I was working so much and traveling so much, and I was really stressed. And I know I don't share a lot of the bad times with you guys, except for, of course, Nani, but internally, a lot of things were going on with me. I had major anxiety. I did not sleep at night at all. I would wake up every half hour or so just thinking about things. And finally, when I would go to sleep, I would wake up in a panic attack. It was just really, really bad. So as a way of dealing with that anxiety, I would just drown myself in work and clients and just distract myself as much as possible. So I under a lot of mental and physical stress, and that harms your body a lot, and it really prevents you from becoming healthy and really get in the way of trying to conceive. So Kushal and I had been trying for the past year, a little bit more than a year. And then my tour got crazy. I don't know if you guys remember, but last year I was on a plane every few weeks, and it was really taking a toll on my body and my health. I lost so much weight. I'm sure you guys remember how I looked a year ago. I lost so much weight. So in between trying, I kept almost mentally roadblocking myself into thinking that there was just no way I can get pregnant. There's just no way. I had never gotten pregnant before in the past 6 years of me being married, and I thought that that's kind of peculiar because I know a lot of girls that got pregnant even on birth control. But basically what I'm trying to get at is one of the biggest hurdles, aside from all the stress and all the traveling that we were going through, was my body not really working. What I mean by that is I was on birth control pills for, I think think 14 years straight. My primary reason for taking them was not as an oral contraceptive. It was to regulate my system. This is where it becomes a little TMI. So boys, go ahead and skip through all this or just don't watch it. And children, it's time for bed. Go to bed. But anyways, my system was so off. Never once in my life had a regular 28-day cycle. It was so off. So just to regulate and to help me plan my life, relied on birth control pills. So I got off the pills when I turned 30 because I wanted to make sure that I had a good amount of time for my body to kind of get rid of all those hormones and get natural and get ready for babies. Even quit fast food, except for In-N-Out, but I quit fast food 2 years ago to prepare my body as well. And I started on prenatal vitamins, and those are good for anyone. Even if you're not trying to get pregnant, it's very good to take prenatal vitamins as a woman. By the time we were really ready to start trying, I thought I was like ready. I thought my body would be like, all right, babies, let's do this. That was definitely not the case. Remember how I said my cycle just was never normal? Well, it was again never normal after I stopped the pill. So the normal cycle is 28 days. Mine would be like 40 days, 50 days, 43 days, like just random. Because I wouldn't even know when my cycle would end, I had no idea when I was ovulating. I had no idea when to start really trying. Basically felt like a year of effort went to waste because my body just wasn't cooperating. Extra frustrating when everyone's asking you, so why are you still waiting? Where's the children? Are you pregnant yet? All I could say was, well, we're trying. And then older aunties would be like, try, what's wrong? It's just not always that simple. I know a lot of girls in my culture just freaking get pregnant on their honeymoon, but it's not always that simple. So I know trying for 1 year is not a whole lot of time. I definitely wasn't totally giving up. I was just getting a little frustrated because all these, ducks were in a row. I moved to LA when I wanted to. I bought my house the time I was 30, which was also a nightmare actually. That whole process was the worst process ever, but whatever. I got the house. Then after that, I moved my parents here. I could have my grandparents closer, and the only thing left was to have the baby. So we started to become really, really serious about this whole thing. I started asking all my pregnant friends, what do they do to get pregnant? What are the tips? What do I need to maneuver to get this going? And basically they all said the same few things, which I'm not going to get into because some of it is so TMI. But one of the things was to get an ovulation kit, which looks like a pregnancy test. Basically, you pee on a stick, and it'll tell you when you're ovulating, and then that's when you need to get down to business. So I got the kit. After a few cycles, I started realizing when I ovulate, and it's super late into my cycle. So late, so abnormal. But I was just so thankful that I was ovulating. I had no idea that I was even capable of that at this point. So I ended up downloading the iPeriod app. I'll write it down here so you can screenshot, to track my periods and to track my ovulations and to also record your love connections so you know when you tried. So on top of that, another thing that my friends were telling me were basically stop trying, just enjoy it and try not to think about it. And when you least expect it, nature is going to take its course and hopefully you'll just get pregnant, bam, just like that. So by then it had almost been a full year of us trying off and on. So meanwhile, Nani is just getting sicker and sicker. Every month or every couple of weeks there was another hospital visit, another emergency room episode. It was getting really bad, and I thought, you know what, I wish I could just get pregnant so I can give her this good news and give her a reason to fight harder or to want to stay with us longer. And then, by surprise, on April 1st, on April Fool's Day, which is also my grandfather's birthday, something just told me to take a pregnancy test. Now, I had taken like a million pregnancy tests before, thinking that I must be pregnant. And they were always false alarms, always disappointments. But on April 1st, while everyone in the world was faking their April Fool's Day pregnancies, I actually found out that Kushal and I were finally having a baby. First thing I did was think, oh my God, it is my grandfather's birthday. What a perfect gift to give him to see his wife, my Nani, finally smile after so long and be excited about something. So I convinced Kushal to just take me straight over there a little early for the birthday dinner and surprise my family. I knew that it was too soon. I knew that, this is the first time I'm ever seeing that I'm pregnant. I don't know how it's going to be. If this is really happening, I didn't even go to the hospital yet, but I just couldn't wait because I wanted Nani to be happy. I did not want to wait a single second to tell her, just in case. I mean, she was just so sick. So we went and we told her. Told everyone in the household, and of course they were all like, don't mess with us. That's a really bad prank. Don't mess with us. And that's when I opened the box and showed them the positive test, and oh my God, the amount of tears that day. So I really thought that this would be like the kickstart for Nani to start feeling better or fighting harder, but unfortunately it was getting worse and her hospital visits were becoming more frequent. And then on April 17th, on Shaw's birthday, I went to the bathroom and there was blood everywhere. I basically knew that it wasn't right. I was constantly searching signs of miscarriage, bleeding, all this stuff on the internet, and it just kept freaking me out. And my husband would just be like, stop reading that stuff, we're gonna be fine. And then when it happened, I felt so guilty. I thought that it was because I was putting it into the universe that this wasn't gonna work. I was blaming myself for being so negative. I was blaming myself for working so much and not taking care of myself and not focus on more positive things. I was blaming myself for reading too much into negativity, especially online, with all the hate comments and stupid rumors and people trying to bring me down constantly. I was just blaming myself for this miscarriage because I thought that if I was stronger or more healthy, or if I focused more on good things, then maybe my babies could have had a chance. And I blew it. And then, of course, my amazing husband sat me down and looked me dead in the eye and said, babe, this time didn't work. We'll try again. If next time doesn't work, we'll try again. We will try and try as many times as it takes, and we will never stop trying. And I just melted. I just couldn't believe how sweet and supportive and understanding he was. I couldn't believe that this was his birthday and I ruined there's nothing in this world that he's ever wanted more. And I couldn't even hold them in. I couldn't even carry them. Anyways, this is getting really, really long. I really didn't mean for it to get so detailed like this, but I don't know. I guess I just had to open up. Anyway, there's a lot more that you don't know. I'm not going to share all those things. There's just a lot going on during that time, and figured, you know what, I'm just going to let go and let God. So 2 days later, we went off to Spain, and we got our mind off of everything that was going on, and we had a great time. We enjoyed every second. Actually had a lot of business trips and fun stuff lined up for the rest of April and May, and figured, you know what, I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to enjoy my work and go back to how things used to be. When we got back from Spain, I spoke with my mom on the phone, and she told us that Nani was back in the hospital. She didn't want to tell us earlier because she didn't want to worry us. It was supposed to just be one of those, visits that would go in, get her infection treated or whatever's going on, and then come home. But it wasn't like that. I never thought that that would be the last days that I would see her. I never thought that she wouldn't come home after that and spend time with us. I mean, you guys have been following Nani's journey too this whole time that I've been snapping them and, showing you their love story and everything. And it always, it would always work out in the end. And I just didn't want to get her more sad or more depressed. So I never told her that I miscarried the babies. I let her keep believing whatever, but she knew. Because my family talked about it in front of her. She wasn't supposed to be paying attention, but she always listened. Despite my efforts in concealing that information from her, I have no doubt in my mind that she knew what was going on the whole time. At this point, she was losing hope. We were all losing hope. And on May 15th, she passed away. And that pretty much was it for me. That was my rock bottom. Just even though the doctors were preparing us, I just didn't realize that she would deteriorate so rapidly, and I wouldn't even have a chance to tell her the things I wanted to tell her while she was still able to hear me. I mean, I had a lot of regrets. After she passed away, we requested that we just have alone time with her. And so we spent hours in that room, kind of gathering our feelings, talking to her, holding her, caressing her, just being with her. And then when it was time to finally go and let the hospital handle what they had to handle, each of us took turns saying our final goodbyes. And everyone did their thing, short and sweet, and then it was my turn at the end. I requested for everyone to leave the room so it could just be me and her alone, because I had one last request from her, and she's never denied me, ever, never denied me in the past, so I knew that she could not deny me of the request I would make from her. And then, as I left, I just knew that my request was already fulfilled. I just knew it. I don't know how. I just knew it. The very next day, Hashal and I were alone in the living room, and he was just talking to me, trying to figure out what was going on in my head, because basically since the moment we got home from the hospital up until then, it's literally a mad woman. I felt crazy. I was looking up so many different things online about spirituality, about souls, about what happens to the soul after someone passes away, about the possibilities of reconnecting with lost souls. I mean, I was searching for answers. I was just trying to see, have I gone nuts? Am I crazy? And I wasn't really filling Kushal in on all this stuff. I was just really doing a lot of soul searching, and so he had to sit me down and be like, what is going on? And I just looked at him and I burst into tears, and I was like, babe, I think I'm pregnant. I think I'm pregnant right now. He was just like, are you kidding me? Like, don't freak me out like this. Stop freaking me out. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm just really, really positive about this feeling right now, and I really think I'm pregnant. And the craziest part is that we only tried one time since the miscarriage, and that was 2 days before the day my grandmother passed away. So I really thought that either I'm going crazy or something's really happening here. And he held me. He held me really tight, and he was like, look, baby, I know you're going through a lot right now. Khair Bosha. Say a prayer. Allah is here to protect us. And if this is true, then God protect this baby. So I just waited and waited, because it was too soon to take a test, obviously. It had just been like 3 days. And meanwhile, Kushal just kept asking me, like, can you please go to the hospital? Can you please just check, do a blood test, do an ultrasound? I just didn't feel the need to. I don't know what it was, but I was so confident that I didn't want to go. Because if I was pregnant, if I was right about all this, that I had a very special angel protecting this baby. I had faith that it would not end up like our last situation did. So basically it was just a waiting game until I felt the need to finally take a test once enough time passed. And meanwhile, of course, I was still soul searching, reading about several different religions' ideas of afterlife and what happens to the soul after death, especially in Islam, because I'm Muslim. And although a lot of different religions have different ideas, they all open up the possibility of a reconnection. And I just felt so comforted by the thought of that. And so, obviously here I am mourning Nani's death, at the same time so hopeful of what could be possibly happening inside me, and at the same time feeling totally psychotic and crazy, because I'm not the type of person to believe stuff like this. I've never really been a believer. I was confused. I really didn't know what was going on, and I just kept asking God for signs. I kept asking Nani for signs. Just show me that you're here. Show me that you're not here. Meanwhile, I kept asking my parents. I kept asking my mom, my aunt, my grandfather, have you guys dreamt of Nani yet? Have you guys dreamt of her? Because no one's dreamt of her. And finally, this part's really freaky, you guys. I was shaking. The same night, my aunt and my mom, these are my grandmother's only 2 children, they both dreamt the exact same thing, which was that here's Nani, she's passed on, and they're looking at her, holding her, and suddenly she wakes up, or she moves. And of course my mom and my aunt are freaking out, and when they wake up they have a very, very strange, uneasy feeling. By then, of course, my aunt was back in Houston, so they call each other, they share this dream with each other, and they just can't figure it out. And as soon as I walk in the house to see my mom, she told me about the dream, because I'd been asking them every day, have you dreamt it, have you dreamt it? And she tells me, and I finally got my validation that I wasn't crazy. So the next day, I took a pregnancy test. I made sure I was alone. I just didn't know which way it would go. I mean, every ounce of me, my entire heart was telling me that I was pregnant, but my mind, your mind plays so many games with you, and so of course in the back of my head there was like this 0.0001% doubt that, am I just nuts? So I prayed and I prayed and I prayed the hardest prayer I've ever prayed. That moment in the bathroom, ready to take this test, eyes completely drenched with tears, and just asking God for strength. So after what seemed to be like a million deep breaths, I finally took the test, and I just sat there and I waited. And I kept my eyes closed, and after about a minute, I just opened them up. And when I saw those two pink lines, so strong, so vivid, so clear, I was like, oh my God, I was hysterical. Kept just thanking God and just saying, oh God, Nani, like, I knew she wouldn't deny me that day. I knew it. I'm her baby. So of course, at the first chance I got, I told my entire immediate family, and we were just all just so, yeah. And now Kushal knows that I'm not crazy. Anyways, that's the pregnancy story. God, as if that didn't take a million years for me to get off my chest, I'm finally ready to answer your exact questions. Oh my God, you guys, your comments. I'm such a wreck right now. This is like, I'm gonna be a psycho freaking prego. Okay, getting on with this. First major questions were, how far along are you and when's your due date? Now you know I'm 3 months. But what's really weird is that I didn't know this until I got pregnant the first time, that they count weeks that you're not pregnant also. Basically, when someone says I'm whatever weeks pregnant, that includes the weeks leading up to the pregnancy from the last cycle. So for me, because my cycle is so lagged and messed up and long, I just started my 16th week, even though I've only been pregnant for maybe like 12 and a half weeks or something like that. So it's just how they count it. So when I finally went in for my first ultrasound, the doctors would ask you like, okay, when was the first day of your last menstrual period? So that they can calculate your estimated due date based on that. I told them, don't do it that way, do it based on the conception date, because I actually know that date. So if you guys know your conception date, then it's much more accurate. And because Kushal and I only tried one time between the miscarriage and this, and I happened to log it in on my iPeriod app, so I wouldn't forget. So basically, when the doctor was trying to figure out my due date, I gave them the exact conception date. And based on that, my estimated due date is February 2nd. So a bunch of you are asking, how has the pregnancy been so far? Well, it's been really, really crappy. I've hated every second. I really don't plan on sugarcoating my experience at all. I'm here to keep it real with you guys. I've always done that in the past. I don't plan on changing that. So I will be the first one to tell you that there is nothing glamorous about being pregnant, at least not in my case. It's gross. Your body does weird things. I'm extremely nauseous all the time. Whoever calls it morning sickness is a damn liar, because it's morning, afternoon, evening, and night. And it will happen without warning. Literally, I think this was like my 5th or 6th week in pregnancy. I woke up and I literally thought I was going to die. I threw up a gazillion times. It was all acid. It wasn't like actual vomit. There was no food in me. I went to the hospital. I told them, it started, the sickness started, and they gave me a bunch of ideas of like remedies and stuff. natural ways to reduce the nausea or to try to beat it before it would start. And I tried all those things, and sometimes help a little bit, and then other times nothing would help. No matter what I did, it wouldn't help. It got to the point where I was so incredibly sick, especially during that second month, that I went down to 99 pounds, and my normal weight is 117. So at that point, I had to take time off of work. And mind you, I just launched the DYF Academy and overbooking all these dates of students flying in from all over the world looking to get their certificate from me. And here I am, puking my brain. So I had to tell my students the truth. They were among the first group of people to really know what was going on, because I needed to change their class dates so I could give myself a 2-week gap in between so I can rest and try to get better. It's not like I could just say, hey guys, I'm not feeling well, because it wasn't like the day before. It was, I gave them some notice about this because they had to change their flights. I told them the truth, and they were all so ecstatic. And my students are amazing secret keepers. They did not tell a soul. It was pretty hard to hide it, though, to my DYFL members, because there were times where I had to wear my pregnancy bracelet even during teaching, because I would literally almost pass out in the middle of class. And if I wasn't munching on crackers every 20 minutes, I would feel like I was gonna die. So it was really hard. My whole team had to find out about my pregnancy before I told the rest of the family, because I was really, really messed up. There were times where I didn't even know that I could make it to class, and I think there was a couple dates that I even had to push back because I was so sick. Ways, in case some of you are going through what I'm going through with the whole nausea thing and you just can't really find so much relief, some of the things that I did do, make sure that I still have them next to me because I'm still sick, saltine crackers in my bedstand, so that as soon as I wake up, pop a couple of them in my mouth, make sure I have a little bit of something, and then slowly get up out of bed. Kushal also ordered me a bunch of ginger candies. I don't know why he got a 6-pack, big bags of ginger candy, but I hate them. I had read that they work on nauseated pregos, and I also read that, so I was willing to give it a try, but they're so disgusting. I couldn't do it. And then he got me the pregnancy wristbands. Those are the acupressure wristbands that you wear when you're nauseous. And those seem to help for a really long time. And then what else? I basically just tried everything in the book. B6, vitamin B6. So when I took the extra B6, I actually got sicker. So my doctor told me to stop taking it, because once in a blue moon there'll be a woman that's abnormally not good with it. That was that. And then, okay, so once I ended my first trimester, so as you guys know, I'm 16 weeks, even though I'm really just 3 months. It's just counted like that. So once I hit 12 or 13 weeks, I actually started getting worse. I started throwing up even my food, my drinks. I couldn't even hold down Gatorade anymore. It was so bad. Literally in the middle of me teaching class, I'd have to leave, puke, and come back and keep teaching. And what's crazy is that nobody in my family ever had sickness like that. It was never that intense. Nobody even remembers actually throwing up. And here I am, just super miserable, hot flashes, puking my brains out, freaking constipation. They don't talk about this shit. Constipation. Yeah, once it got to the point where I couldn't even hold down fluids, Kushal rushed me to ER. He's like, this is bullshit. You need to be able to nourish yourself and nourish my baby. So I'm taking you in. So yeah, I went in and I wanted to get IV so I can get rehydrated, but a ER doctor and my nurse, who both had plenty of experience with pregos, both said that it's not always the best thing to just get IV. That's really just a quick fix. What about when you need to drink again? Like, how are we supposed to get you to start drinking without throwing up? And the only answer at that point was my biggest fear, which was actually starting medication. I did not want to do that to my baby, but just speaking with all the doctors and nurses, OBGYNs, and really trying every single other alternative, there was just one last thing to do. That was to start on Zofran, which is a drug that stops you from throwing up. It's one of the best drugs out there. I had taken it before, like during like stomach flu issues where I would like not be able to control vomiting, and it would help miraculously, like with one dose. Of course, just like any other soon-to-be mom, I was really concerned about the side effects and what can possibly go wrong by taking it, and so I had to get multiple opinions on this before I actually started it. But I have to say, once I started on Zofran, my entire life changed. Doctors normally don't prescribe things like that right away. You have to be like literally on death's edge to get something like that. And because I wasn't even able to nourish myself, there was a higher risk of me not being able to provide nourishment for the baby. So they weighed out the options and they all agreed that I really need to get on Zofran if I was to have a healthy pregnancy. So I did it, and I just sucked it up and I took it, and I swear to you guys, I was able to eat a cow afterward. I don't take it every day. I only take it when I start to feel nauseous. So one Zofran is supposed to last about 8 hours, but I go like 36 hours in between doses. I tried 48 hours, didn't work. I'm still super sick. So I'm going to give it another couple weeks and try to wean off it again to see if my body has adjusted yet or if I'm still sick. One thing I was really pissed off about was that, like, I was so sick. All my clients knew, all my friends knew, my family knew, everyone, but nobody suggested ask about Zofran. And then once I got on Zofran and I told, everyone, hey, I'm feeling better, I'm on Zofran, they were like, oh, I took Zofran throughout my entire pregnancy. Everything was great. And I'm like, really? Really? You couldn't just fill me in on this, Oh, yeah. That's what's up with the nausea at this point. On top of that, the other stuff that's been going on, gastrointestinal, not so fun. And I've also earned the title of super bitch because I have been kind of a monster, mainly to Kushal and my mom. I have to say, the biggest perk of being pregnant is that people do everything for you. I don't have to lift a finger. I mean, poor Kushal. I was like newly pregnant during Ramadan, and he was fasting and I wasn't, but I would send him grocery shopping or food fetching 3 times a day in the middle of 110-degree weather during Ramadan while he's starving. He would come home happily with whatever it was that I wanted. He'd give it to me. He'd watch me eat and not even feel sad at all. He would even cook me things, make me things. If I was craving a random thing, like Osh, for example, he'd cook it for me and he would not even complain, and he wouldn't be able to even taste it, and it would smell so good. Poor guy. He's a good guy. He's a keeper. If any of you guys out there are planning on getting pregnant, make sure you have a partner nearby you who can do everything for you. Next question is, would you name your child after your Nani if it's a girl, and have you thought of other names? The answer to the first question is no. There can only be one Nani. There can only be one Sadhna, but not her. And the answer to the second question is yes. Actually, Kushal and I, when we first started dating over 13 years ago, already picked out our future baby names, and we haven't changed our minds since. Another question is, when are you going to find out if it's a girl or a boy? And that is going to happen next month, inshallah. And we've decided to stay surprised until our gender reveal party when all of us find out together. actually more excited for the gender reveal than I am for anything else. I'm so curious. And as far as preferences, Kushal keeps telling me he has absolutely no preference. He's just so glad that it's finally happening, Bakhaid. And all he's hoping for is a healthy baby. For me, on the other hand, my whole life I've always wanted a daughter. I've always wanted a little girl. But recently, I don't know how this even popped into my mind. I just closed my eyes and I pictured a mini Kushal and my heart melted. And at this point, I would be equally happy if it's a mini him or a mini me. That's all. Okay, you guys, it's getting really late. It is time for bed. But one last question I just saw was, did we conceive naturally or was I taking any type of... No, we didn't ever do any type of fertility testing. I was never on any type of fertility or hormone drug thing. I mean, yes, I had major doubts that I could even get pregnant. And then after the miscarriage, I was like, wow, okay, that sucks. But then it gave me hope at the same time because I didn't even know I could get pregnant. And the fact that I naturally conceived twins as my first pregnancy, and we don't even have twins naturally in my family except for IVF twins. And I mean, basically, I felt like that was meant to happen just as a way of God telling me, don't lose hope. This is your timing. You can have a baby. I really, really honestly learned a lot about my body because of that miscarriage. And I really feel like it was meant to not happen because I'm taking it, like I said, as a sign that I am fertile. This can happen naturally, and that Nani really needed us and our focus at the time, and that timing of that pregnancy just wasn't meant to happen, not while losing Nani. So, and yeah, of course, the whole amazing phenomenon of the circle of life. It's so crazy how everything happened. So yeah, in this case, no fertility things were involved. It was just purely God. Anyways, your guys' comments are just so uplifting and so sweet, and I'm really glad that I was able to finally share my story with you to hopefully give you guys strength out there, give you guys some hope. I know that my story is nothing in comparison to a lot of yours out there. So many more fit mothers than me trying for years and years and years, and I know that it can get really, really frustrating. And even though my story and how long we waited doesn't compare to how long a lot of you are waiting, I hope it can give you some sort of inspiration and hope and faith in God and trusting that what's meant to be will be, and nothing can get in the way of that. Love you guys.